Hi, welcome back to another TerranScapes video. Today I want to show you a sort of work in progress on an unusual forest project. Customer asked me to assemble a variety of woods using pre-made trees, and these are going to be used with the Lord of the Rings miniatures game. The customer is a Lord of the Rings enthusiast, and so has requested some elements to try to model some of the descriptions in the books, and has selected trees. He's purchased these trees and sent them to me to try to emulate at least some of the feel of the essence of it. I haven't worked with these pre-made trees before, so this is kind of a treat for me, as I've wanted to see some of these trees in person and get a sense of their overall quality and durability. And also this project entails a bit of a unique challenge to create a sort of hedge that is supposed to be in the woods and has sort of a prominent terrain feature element to it. So let's take a closer look at these bases that I've done. Some of the trees, a very small sampling of the over 200 trees that he sent me, and also a look at a mock-up of the hedge and some problems that I've had with it and some things that are working. So let's take a closer look. So before we look at the bases, I thought we'd talk a little bit about the trees themselves. These trees are Noch trees, that's the brand. They make a lot of railroad terrain. They list scales they could be used for, but really in the end, and they show like a little scale here, how high would it be in your scale. But in any case, trees are pretty universal in scale. It's up to you to decide how big they are. The trees the customer sent me range from, say, 4 inches in height up to 7 or 8. Here's my handy dude here. I should name him. I don't know. Call him Mr. Stable. Stable. Anyway. And the trees are quite varied in their appearance. There are a predominance of deciduous trees. This is a poplar. This is a beech tree in the back here. Give you a sense of that. Most of them are these open cell foam attached to the armature with a nice armature. These are great armatures, lots of detail on them, lots of small branches. And of interesting note, they all appear to have fixed bases, so there's no pin system to remove these trees from their base for storage. It's pretty much fix in place and you're done with it, unless you're going to put in a magnet or something like that. Customers ask for fixed attachment to the bases, so my plan at this point is to epoxy the trees in place. I think that would be the quickest and easiest way to assemble these, as going in and trying to drill holes in the hardboard and pinning them, not going to work out very well. There are a couple trees that will present a little bit of a challenge. Some of these trees, say like this one, have a very small surface area for their base, but epoxy is pretty solid material, so I'm hoping I'm going to get a pretty good adhesion with that once I set that down. And I might be able to, as I'm attaching them, and then go in and add a little foliage around the roots to help lock them down and, dress up the base. Of course, you know me. I like lots of plants on my terrain. If that stands up, are you going to stand up? There we go. So, quick thoughts on this. This is a 12-inch diameter base. I'll go through all the bases in a second. But this is a 12-inch diameter base, and it looks like with trees this size, it's going to take somewhere between 10 and 12 trees to fill it. Customer sent me about 200 trees, so that's quite a few bases, but we have quite a few bases to fill, as I'll show you in a second. So basically, and this customer has all of his terrain in static grass, so I have static grassed all of these bases at this point, using the static grass, the scooter stick static grass applicator. I did a previous video on that, so if you're new to my channel, you can go back and take a look at that applicator. And then what I've gone in is I've gone in and added a few rocks to each of the bases, and you can see here on a larger one, this base is 24 inches across. All right, and I have added a few rocks in. Now, I haven't gone in and really spent a lot of time, worrying about joining these rocks with dirt patches around them and the like, as these bases are intended to be pretty heavily treed, for lack of a better term. There are also some small bases. So there are 8 of these 12-inch, 8 of these 24 by 8-inch bases, and 8 of these individual or small clump tree bases. These vary in size from, say, 3 to 4 inches in diameter. The customer has indicated that there will be, not a lot of play within the woods. These large bases are designed to flank the outside of the playing area to give the appearance that you're inside the forest, and then the 12-inch bases and the individual tree bases will be used interior-wise for gameplay. So because the trees will be fixed in place, that's a concern that I have is for play. And spacing of the trees to get miniatures in and out. As you can see, let's put in a tree or two again here, so let's say the trees are spaced like that. At this point it's not too bad to get in there, but if I drop a tree in front, getting access to that open area in the interior becomes definitely more challenging. So this video is in part to show a little bit of my idea to the customer and get a sense of the overall density that he's looking for on the basis. Very easy play would be 6 trees on this base, maybe 7. Very non-playable but awesomely dense will be probably in the 12 tree range, not counting hedges. So hedges would reduce that count, but also affect play. So let's talk a little bit about those hedges. Customer mentioned that in the books it describes a hedge. I can't remember the name of the species or whatever off the top of my head, but the important characteristics of it is that it has grown wild through the woods, and it has a relatively large height, up to 12 inches tall, and it is relatively impassable to movement. So 12 inches to scale, all right, assuming a man is about 6 feet tall or so, it's going to be about 2 inches in height, ballpark. This is about 2 inches high to this guy. Hold it in profile here so that makes more sense. Oh, actually, look at that. It's not quite. Not even. Not even. All right. So, as the hedges get bigger, all right, they begin to take up more space to taper them. My idea was to taper them down, have them have an irregular structure, and then what I did, and this is, sort of scouring pad as a core, glued together, and then what I've gone in and done is I have flocked it with a super turf from Scenic Express, and then applied some static grass to it to give it a spiny, brambly look. I wanted something a little bit different than what I've done in the past, something that looks maybe a little bit more natural and a little bit more foreboding, and I don't know if I've quite achieved that, but there are definitely some problems with this design that I need to fix. So looking at this one, which actually in some ways came out a little bit better, what I wanted to do is have a sort of spreading appearance where tendrils are coming off of this, as a hedge is not going to grow, I'm presuming, in a straight line, as that's a manicured look that we create. So I thought something with, branching form would look a little bit more natural. And this one came out actually a little bit better, although I thought I had too much of the super turf. Let's see if you can see that. Maybe a little bit more clear. Yeah, it's the slightly brighter green color on that. So I tried a second one just to see about flocking it a little differently. And there were some open patches. And like I said, I just did this real quick just to get a sense before I moved forward, just to get a little, theory-wise, how does that look? When I did this one, I tried to emulate that a little bit, and it really looks artificial and not natural at all, but I finished it anyway just to take a look at it. It made me realize right away that this branching section really needs to come from the central hub, needs to match it in height. And also, I still ended up with this sort of artificial shelf-looking bit where I've added on other sections, and I tried to round that so that it wouldn't look like it was glued on, and it really still ended up looking like that. So I need to modify how I attach pieces to this, but I did not want to continuously increase its thickness to have a gradual taper, as something 2 inches high could end up, you know, say 4 inches wide pretty quickly. As it is, this is approximately, wait a minute, tape measure. This is approximately, you know, 1.25 inches across, almost in there, and it's 1.5 inches here. So you can see that trying to get a rounded shape out of them could make them fairly wide fairly quickly. That meow is Harry in the background. He's our cat that doesn't get on camera time very much. So, I like the texture on these a lot, actually. I think they look kind of weird and sort of scary looking and foreboding and spiny and thorny maybe. I think overall I like the texture on them, but I got to work on the shape a little bit more to get it a little more organically feeling. But the question would be, if I build them to scale, they will take up, I mean, look at the footprint this one takes already, right? There's a sizable footprint on a 12-inch base. And, you know, then, whoops, wait a minute, as I bounce my lights around, let's put in a couple trees around it here. Let's see what that looks like. I haven't done this before. This is new to me. New to you, new to me. Something like this. Alright, don't get too picky here, Mike. Just, will you stand? I will for a second. So that gives you a sense of how it might look integrated into the base, although there's plenty of foliage to be added and bushes and shrubs to add around that, tie it in, smooth out its transition to the board. Lots of small detail work that's not represented here, but it gives you a little sense overall of how it scales and compares to the trees. So I guess if I have a question for the customer, you know, it's primarily, you know, do you want me to push them to the full 2-inch height? Do you want them in a straight line? Would you like more organic tapers coming off of it at angles? And if so, you know, I'm happy to do that. I think that is what would look best, to have it branching. But definitely look at this as a mock-up of just basic concept, as it needs a little more work on overall shaping before I commit myself to any one style or you know, shape. So after recording this video yesterday and looking at those hedges on the screen, I really don't like them. I mean, again, going back to the texture, I kind of like that, but the shape just seemed wrong. So what I wanted to do today, and add this as an addendum to the video, is just cut a real simple one out of a slightly different material. This is actually, oh, where's a piece of it? This is actually a coarser steel wool, and I teased it out to try to create, you can see the texture. Come on, why aren't you focusing on that? Too many crickets. There we go. So I teased it out to try to catch some of those stronger fibers and give it a little bit of a fluffier look, and then painted it up in a green pattern scheme, I should say, and then static grassed it. And I'm hoping this will be all right. I'm running a one less light here just to do this real quick. But you know, what I did is cut it into a regular shape, left it a single layer thick, and just wanted to get a sense of, you know, maybe a slightly alternative scheme. And perhaps the static grass is one of the contributing factors that doesn't quite look right. Maybe trying to give it a spiny look is not the right way to go. Maybe flocking it exclusively with the super turf, you know, sort of foliage, clump foliage kind of crumbles, maybe is a better way to go. I don't know, but anyway, I wanted to put up one alternative. And also, I forgot to mention in the video last night, excuse the handheld zipping around here, but just trying to do this real quick, is that one of the nice things about using this material is that, you know, it's bendable. So when I attach it to the base, you know, I can give it a more organic feel. You know, you can do a sort of, let's see if I can pin this and show it. Let's see if I can do that. Well, in any case, you get the idea, right? That it can be stretched into some, irregular shaping, which I think would help. But, this kind of a simple, straightforward, single piece, single layer cut up may not look quite as natural as, something that has a more of a contoured side to it, but does afford a little bit of ease in terms of placement and movement within the bases, and may, even though it doesn't look more natural, may look more right, if you get what I'm saying, in the sense that sometimes simple on a scale battlefield looks a little bit better. So I just wanted to put out another quick thought, as I really feel like something's going wrong with these, and the more I think about them, the more I feel like maybe I need to go in a different direction. So I just wanted to present another alternative and a few more thoughts on it. Sorry if it stretches the video a little bit longer, but I just couldn't release the video without giving you some more consideration about it. So anyway, one more thought on the hedges. Interested to hear what people think. So that gives you at least some preliminary ideas about how some of this might look. Again, this is a very conceptual stage at this point in the project, and there are pieces to be added that I haven't even shown you. Included with all of the trees were some of the broken stumps from Woodland Scenics. These are metal cast to paint up and add on. There are some of their metal cast deadwood to include, and so there's quite a bit to still do with these. So I guess if I had two questions, number one would be, am I going in the total wrong direction with the hedges? Do I need to work on something else? I wanted to try to differentiate it from the more formal shaping and style that I do for my typical hedges that are listed on the store. So am I going in the wrong direction there? As well as sort of the overall density of the woods. Do you want access to the center of the base, because that will affect how the trees and the hedges are placed a little bit. But it sounds like not too much access is needed, so we can keep them kind of dense, which I think is going to look really fantastic. If anybody, any of my wonderful viewers, have any other hedges that they've seen people do that they think might be a helpful alternative or another perspective on it, I'd be happy to take a look at that, as I really want to get something kind of different out there that I haven't done before, and so it'd be nice to have some other kinds of alternative suggestions. If you've seen anything, don't scour the web, but I mean, if you're like, oh, I know that, you should look at this, then that would be great. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this sort of informal look at a work in progress. Once this starts to move forward, I expect it to wrap up relatively quickly, and so keep your eye on the channel for an update video on it pretty soon.